What if I told you that some of the richest people in America never earned six figures? The janitor who quietly built an $8 million fortune while driving an old car and wearing patched clothes. The secretary who retired with over $800,000 on a $30,000 a year salary. Or the police officer who left his family $1.2 million. They had no idea. He only earned around $50,000 at the most during his career. Now, all of these aren't lottery winners or trust fund kids. They're just ordinary people who cracked the code. And you really don't need a big salary to build real wealth if you have the right habits. Now, if you earn a modest income, maybe $40,000, $50,000, or even less, you might think that millionaire status is completely impossible. And this is the video for you if you do. So let's dive in. Number one, busting the myth. Now, the biggest lie in personal finance is you need to earn a lot to get rich. Didn't happen to me, because wealth isn't always about income. It's about the gap between what you earn and what you spend, then multiplied by the amount of time and some smart investing habits. Now, look at this. High earners often live paycheck to paycheck because lifestyle inflation eats away at all the raises in money that they make. And low earners who save aggressively and invest consistently, they win in the long term. Now, Ronald Reed proves this. He was a gas station attendant and a janitor in Vermont with an average salary of around, get this, $30,000 to $35,000 adjusted back then. But he lived frugally and he bought blue chip stocks, and he understood things like Procter & Gamble and GE, companies that he knew and understood, and then held on to for decades and reinvested those dividends. When he died in 2014 at the age of 92, he had nearly $8 million, and that was $8 million back then. This shocked everyone because no one knew. You don't need genius level investing here. You just need consistency and time, which leads us to number two is the power of compounding. Compounding is the eighth wonder of the world, and Einstein called it that for a reason. You earn returns on your money and on the returns themselves. Look at this. The longer it runs, the crazier this gets. Look at real numbers. Now, assuming an 8% average return, that's conservative, but the S&P 500 history and then reinvesting those dividends, if you start at the age of 25 and invest $200 a month, that's $2,400 a year, by the time you're 65, 40 years, you've got $560,000. But wait, if you wait until 35 and invest double the amount, $400 a month, by the age of 65, 30 years, you have $490,000. And if you invested $96,000 total versus $144,000, those two time periods, you end up with $70,000 more just by starting a little bit earlier. Is that mind-blowing or what? That's why I'm sharing this stuff, because if you start today, today is going to be winning that bigger salary down the road. I'm going to show you something even smaller. $100 a month at 8% for 30 years is $150,000, and $300 a month is $400,000 plus. And these are super achievable even on moderate salaries if you stick to it. And number three is there are key principles to this, and it happens every single day. Now, principle number one is to live frugally. I'm not talking about being cheap here. Now, frugal means intentional spending and getting value from every single dollar. Now, you focus on those big wins, your housing, the smaller place, don't need the bigger place, or adding roommates for the cash flow, or your transportation, a used car, or public transportation even, or your food. You cook at home. You learn to cook nutritious, healthy, tasty recipes on YouTube. But you don't cut the joy, guys. You just cut the waste. You can use YouTube and cut cable and streaming bills, and you can use apps for deals and buy used and avoid that lifestyle creep like I talked about as your income rises. But then there's principle number two to this, which is to take that money and save aggressively and then automate it. You aim for 15 or 20% in savings. Then you automate the money transfers into investments the day that you get paid so that you never see the money that you have to spend, right? It's super easy if you start small. Now look, I started at 21 years old, okay, with $75 a month. And this built the habit. And then I increased it 1% or more a year with raises or as I got money. Now, this is a massive amount of money right now. And then you have principle number three, which is to invest simply and early into low-cost index funds. I'm talking about, you've heard this before, the S&P 500. It tracks Vanguard or Schwab. What you do is you get this diversified number of stocks. You get super low fees, and historically, it's long, and then you get the compound interest. So if you're lucky enough to have an employer who matches your 401k, you're lucky enough, because that's free money, guys. If you don't have that, you can use a simple Roth IRA. In 2026, you have a limit of $7,500 or $8,600 if you're 50 or over. And that's tax-free, and it grows significantly over the decades of your life if you continue to do this. But we're not talking about stock picking here. We're not talking about trying to time the market here. We're talking about consistent habits here. And that includes real estate if you're trying to time anything. It's all about being consistent investing here. It's never going to be cheap enough. It's never going to be affordable, and it's never going to be the best time. Just be consistent. And then you have principle number 4, which is avoiding the debt traps and avoiding high interest debt like credit cards at 18 or 25%. That's the stuff that kills wealth faster than any kind of investing could ever build wealth. So that's why you want to pay off debt first, because it is a guaranteed return. Look, if you paid off debt on a credit card at 18%, that's like earning 18% interest. Now let's talk about good debt, because there is a certain amount of debt that is good. Like if you have an affordable mortgage, and I use the word affordable on the place where you live, or an investment with a property with positive cash flow, that brings in money, or an investment in a business that has cash flow. That's the stuff that provides you and boosts even more income. Then you have principle number 5, is to boost that income over time without the lifestyle inflation. Look, I didn't go out and buy the big cars and all the other stuff. I did that later in life because my investments are paying for that stuff. So if you take your raises or your side hustles, just be sure that you're funneling that extra income directly into investments and not into bigger cars and not into upgrading your apartment or upgrading your house. You know, today, again, my cars, my vacations, or my fun is paid for in full by my investment income. Now, here's the real life wins and the mistakes. Maria, a secretary, saved 20% into index funds, and she retired with $800,000. David, the police officer, 15% savings into a 401k and an IRA, and ended up with $1.2 million. But the common mistakes here is waiting to earn more and chasing the get-rich-quick schemes. I know a lot of people who were in the same boat as I was, always looking to get rich, but they were always looking for the quick hit. And then the other problem is the lifestyle inflation. Just live below your means. And you know what I'm talking about is buying things that you can't really afford. That's living above your means. So you want to avoid them, and you want to track your spending. If you haven't done this already, put it on paper. Just check all your spending for 1 month. You're going to be amazed at how much money you're actually leaking and how much money you could be saving. But start small. Don't try to do it all at one time. But here's your 8-step starter plan, all right? You ready? Track your spending for 30 days. Cut out the big categories. You've got to think about this. Housing, transportation, and food, those are usually the biggest categories that any of us have. And you want to see how you can easily cut that stuff. Then any savings that you get, any savings that come in, investments, even if it's $25 a month or $50 a month, you automate that. And then get a full 401k match. If you can get that with your employer, do it immediately. And then open an IRA, a Roth IRA, and then contribute to that monthly. If you invest into low-cost mutual funds, you increase those contributions with raises. It's not going to be $1 million overnight. And it might not even get to $1 million, but I'm going to tell you something. If you're patient, wealth is not a marathon. It's about building real wealth on a small salary. It isn't easy, but it is simple, and it is proven. And it's possible for millions of people. Now, the question I have for you is this. Will you start today, or are you just going to wait and do this later? What are you doing? Just want to say thanks for watching, because I am cheering you on. This channel is Everyday Real Wealth. This is real everyday wealth here, guys. And if you subscribed, I'm going to see you in the next video. Take care, guys.